Shabbat Shalom. This is Daniel John Lee with episode 34 of my podcast entitled Health and Holy Living. And you can also find this in my teaching section up on the left-hand side on my website, www.spiritandtorah.com. So, health and holy living. Let's get into this. Now, a lot of these tips that I'm going to share in this podcast are really, really good to keep yourself filled with energy, to minimize the amount of sleep that you have to sleep every night, and just to keep your body functioning well. And some of these are going to go beyond the scriptural commandments that are in the Torah. So I'm not suggesting that these commandments are something that are, salvational issues, but if you follow these guidelines, I think that it will really help you feel a lot healthier and just overall better. So first of all, we're going to start off with, of course, you want to follow the dietary laws in Leviticus 11, which include no pork or shellfish, and there's of course a list of other unclean foods that you can read about in Leviticus 11. Also, something that some people don't know about, but is actually confirmed in the New Testament. In Acts chapter 15, no animal you eat should have any blood or be strangled. Okay, most American meat just tend to be very bloody, unless you get nice grass-fed organic, beef or meat at like a Whole Foods market. A lot of meat that we tend to eat, that we buy at the store, tends to be very bloody. Even the so-called kosher meat. So, what you need to do in order to drain the blood is, after you buy your meat, you need to fill a large bowl of water and then cover the meat in a layer of kosher salt. Then you soak the meat for a few hours in this bowl of water, coated in salt, and what happens is this will leach the blood out of the meat, and it drains into the water. Then you just remove the meat and you rinse. You rinse the salt off, and voila, your beef has been drained of all blood. This especially needs to be done with beef. And again, like I said, even so-called kosher beef tends to be bloody. But it's also good to do on poultry, because sometimes you'll notice that blood does drain from poultry as well. And this is very, very important, because this is something that is commanded by Yah. We're commanded not to eat blood, and so it's very important to remove as much blood as possible from your meat. And it will cut down on heart disease and help you to live much healthier. The next point I want to make concerns dairy. Of course, a lot of us probably like to drink milk and consume cheese and butter. I know I do. And there's nothing wrong with dairy, but you should only buy raw milk, cheese, and butter. And it will say raw on the container when you purchase it. Whole Foods is a really good source to buy raw cheese and raw butter. Only a few states still sell raw milk in their stores. So you may have to go directly to a dairy farm in order to get raw milk. I have a local dairy farm that I go to here in the Portland area, and I'm able to purchase raw milk there every week, and that's what I do. Raw milk and cheese and butter is really the only way to ensure that you're eating dairy the way that Yah intended you to consume dairy. Of course, there's a lot of added bacteria that's in raw milk, especially, also in raw butter and raw cheese, that's not in processed and homogenized milk and dairy products. And so it really helps in terms of keeping you healthy and giving you good bacteria that your body needs. When it comes to meat, you want to buy only organic, grass-fed meat, and you can usually find this at like a Whole Food store or any health store. If you read the scriptures, Torah commands cattle to eat grass. Okay, the cattle eats grass. You never see an example where the children of Israel fed their animals grains or the meat of other animals, because what happens is when you feed cattle grain or meat, fat marbles the beef. And remember, Torah commands us not to eat any fat. We're supposed to cut the fat away. But when fat has marbled the beef, it's very, very difficult to avoid eating the fat. And in fact, in America, this is a purposeful tactic to try to flavor the meat by marbling the meat with fat. So this is actually a commandment in Torah that you should follow. When you buy beef or any type of meat from the store, make sure that it's organic, grass-fed, and that way you'll avoid eating the fat that marbles the typical meat out there. When it comes to poultry, like chicken or eggs, make sure it's free range. And what this means is that chickens are allowed to wander free and eat whatever they find, rather than being confined inside a lab or a shed and forced to eat blood and junk and other things. So make sure you buy organic, free-range eggs. They do tend to be more expensive, but this really is the only way that Yah intended for us to eat poultry and eggs, things like that. When it comes to fruits and vegetables, make sure that they have the organic label. Yes, they are more expensive than the typical fruits and vegetables without organic labeling, but this is the only way to make sure that your fruits and vegetables don't have pesticides on them. And pesticides can really cause a lot of problems in the body. Juices, when you buy juice, try to make sure that they're unfiltered, 100% organic. I like to buy the organic grape juice that's at Whole Foods for Sabbath. I also like to get the unfiltered 100% organic apple juice, which literally still has the apple peelings and things at the bottom of the jar. Breads. A really good bread to buy is organic spelt. All modern wheat has been genetically modified, even if it's not labeled. But spelt is an ancient relation to wheat, which is the most natural bread flour on the market. And spelt can be used, unlike whole wheat, which you can use whole wheat, but it doesn't taste really good when you use it for various types of cakes and desserts. But spelt tastes good no matter how you use it. So I highly recommend spelt. When it comes to sugars and desserts, avoid the processed sugars, avoid white flour, etc., and try to only get raw sugar, because that'll keep you healthy. Also, stay away from the soy-based health food alternatives. A lot of the ways that they process soy here in the United States is not healthy, and actually tends to cause people to become effeminate, and because it increases the estrogen levels in a person's body. So try to avoid the whole soy-based food health stuff. So these particular suggestions are really good to keep yourself healthy. And I also just want to suggest just a few more things for you. I have some supplements that I take, and this is by no means exhaustive, but I just take these supplements regularly, and they really help me, give me a lot of energy. First of all, this is acidophilus, and this is the building block of any type of supplement you want to take, because when you take this, it cleans out your stomach, and it makes sure that you have really good flora in your stomach so that you can absorb any nutrients that you take. So you always want to take acidophilus. And then I take this, it's called ionic minerals, and what it is it's about 70 different minerals that we typically don't get because our soil has been not kept right. And so this is in a really nice, very tasty formula, and it comes out by Natural Sunshine. You can Nature Sunshine. You can order this on the internet, and you take 2 teaspoons of these a day, or tablespoons a day, and this really fills you with energy. It's unbelievable how much energy this gives you. And then I also take GTF Whole Food Chromium, which helps to metabolize your sugar. You take 3 of these a day. They're just little pills, or tablets rather. And then also selenium, Whole Food Selenium. This helps cut down your risk on cancer, and also helps to carry the chromium throughout your body. Selenium and chromium work really well together, and they promote health, heart health, all sorts of health. So just taking those simple supplements, the acidophilus, the ionic minerals, which is about 70 different trace minerals that your body needs but doesn't normally get, and then whole food chromium and selenium really help you. You also want to make sure that if you get chromium and selenium, make sure that they are whole food, because there's a lot of chromiums out there, like chromium picolinate, which is actually poison, and non-whole food supplements, which you don't want to get. This one is put out by Innate, which you can usually get from a doctor. I get this one from my naturopath. Or there's other whole food chromiums out there, I think put out by Mega Foods, that you can just buy directly without having to go through a naturopath or a doctor. So I hope these suggestions helped you. I also just want to remind you real quickly that Yom Teruach, the Feast of Trumpets, is coming up this next Wednesday. It starts Tuesday night, September 27th, and goes to Wednesday night, September 28th. Don't forget, it's the Feast of Trumpets. It's a high Sabbath.